Hello, everybody. Welcome to my Ninja Turtles channel. I'm very happy to be joined by Sarah Myer. Sarah is an artist, a colorist, an author, an illustrator, and a professor. Multi-talented. Sarah's been working on the TMNT vs. Street Fighter comic books, the Usagi Yojimbo Turtles crossover, and of course the Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures comics. Very busy. And Sarah also recently released the graphic novel Monstrous, a transracial adoption story. So everyone welcome Sarah Myer. Oh, very nice. Ready to go. I read it. It was great. So I want to tell everyone to go to sarahmeyer.net and follow S. Meyer Comics on Twitter and Instagram. Welcome, Sarah.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's a long intro. You've got a lot going on. Very nice.
Yeah, it's been kind of busy lately, but no complaints.
Oh, that's good to hear. And you're a professor, so I'm going to be on my best behavior. I know you're going to be subconsciously grading me whether you want
Oh,
to or not. So,
well, I was a professor between 2016 and 2019. I'm not currently teaching, but maybe in the future.
oh, good to hear. Well, then I'm going to slack off and I'm going to cheat on my homework then. Coming clean. No, I'm just kidding around. Well, thank you again for joining me. I appreciate it. You're even wearing your turtle shirt. How did you get into the Ninja Turtles?
That's right. Yeah. So I am a kid of the late 80s, early 90s. I was born in the mid 80s, and my earliest memories are that Fred Wolf cartoon being on television. And while I may not have been quite old enough to be there with the very, very first, premiere of it, um the seasons, I think three, four, five, six, were almost always like running in syndication at the time that I was a really little kid. So it's like my earliest memories are watching that on TV.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and I something you pointed out in your book that I thought was really astute, something that I really like. You pointed out that the turtles are adopted in a sense on the show, and you are as well. I
Yeah.
thought that was a cool association. I thought that was really a unique perspective, a unique viewpoint to like the turtles.
Thanks. Yeah, I think one of the things that appeals to a lot of people, regardless of their background, is that there's always this sense of them being kind of, misfits, a little bit quirky.
Hmm. Yeah, the turtles are sometimes they're isolated, they're outcasts, and I think a lot of kids associate with that being not fitting in one way or another. And I just thought that was a great very unique thing to point out in your book, and I understand why you like the turtles, and that's great to hear. You grew up with the 1987 show,
Oh
um,
yeah,
and you grew up, became an artist, a professional artist, and now you're working on the Ninja Turtles comic books. A dream come true.
for sure. Yeah.
How did you get the Saturday Morning Adventures job? That was where I first saw your work in the Saturday Morning Adventures comic book.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so that actually happened because of Monstrous, a transracial adoption story. That consumed like 3.5, maybe years of my life. Between I think 2019 and like all through the pandemic, and then it just released this year.
Hmm.
And one of my editors on that book actually um knew, because of the things that I was putting in the book. He was like, you're really into turtles, and I've been drawing a lot of my own like prints and stuff at the time, in particular the group Donatello shot with all the different iterations of Donatello through the years. And he actually said, hey, I know somebody who's looking for a turtles artist, and it ended up being one of my editors. So currently on IDW now. So one of my editors from First Second put my work in front of one of the editors from IDW, and that's really how I got the variant cover gig for Saturday Morning Adventures number 3C. That was my very first official Turtles job, and it's all thanks to my editor from First Second putting me in touch with Charles.
Oh, that's so cool. So you started off with the covers and then moved on to being a colorist. Is that how they like audition artists? Like have you do a cover and see what you can do or
I'm really not sure if that's I couldn't say for sure if that is a standard kind of protocol.
mm,
I think it would make sense for sure. Um and what ended up happening was I just thought, okay, like I was so excited when I got that email because he made sure to say this is set in the 87 cartoon universe. And so I just like put everything I could think of into it because I assumed that it would be my first and very likely only
Hmm.
and last official Turtles thing. So I guess that they liked what they saw, and they had an opening for a colorist for the interiors. And I think it was like the very next month and a half or so after I submitted that cover art, then they were like, "Hey, Sarah, do you want to color the interiors?" And of course, I said yes right away. I couldn't sign that
Awesome.
contract fast enough. So
Wow, very cool. One thing leads to another. I thought you're a great fit on that comic book, and I thought there was a great team on that first four issues. There's Eric Burnham and Tim Laddie and you. And I noticed recently they've been switching out artists and even switching out writers on some of the upcoming books. Is it hard to
yeah,
work with new people? Like once you get used to working with a team, then they switch people out. Is that tough, or is that just part of the comic book business?
I guess it's really because I am not actually talking to them in like Zoom calls or Zoom chats. I don't really have a lot of one-on-one interaction with the other artists or the writers that I've been working with. And so it's been really but when we do chat, like Eric and I met at New York Comic Con, it's been really really great to meet him. He's just a nice fun person anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
like um I would say that because of the editors doing such a good job keeping the pipeline moving smoothly, really I just get the files ready. When it comes to being a colorist, I would just get the files ready to go, and then I'm really just reporting to the editors. So and sometimes you know one of the artists would, like, Tim had some references and things like that he would drop in there, like, oh hey, like, just so you know, this one like fire hydrant is meant to be the fire hydrant with the eyeballs from the play set, the
Mm-hmm.
Playmates play set, things like that. But really there's not a whole lot of you know colorist to line artist interaction in some cases. I know
Yeah.
there are some teams that have been working together for years, and they might just like be talking on instant messenger just like for fun anyway. But yes, so far just due to the schedule, I've kind of just been like, all right, files are in, time to go.
Nice. Yeah, busy schedule. I forget that all of you work remotely and it's everyone's in different parts of the country and different parts of the world and you're not all
Yeah,
hanging out in the same room or anything. It's all done remotely and via the computer. Is it lonely being an artist almost?
sometimes, yeah. um
Not to get too deep here. I'm not trying to play therapist, but yeah, it just seems like it's
oh,
lonely. You're alone all the time drawing and then you collaborate with people from across the country and
yeah.
that's
I
it.
sometimes it can feel a little bit like isolating, like, that joke online about the comics industry, and it's like it's just one person slowly going insane in an apartment. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
sometimes I feel that way, but the editors have been really great and really supportive too. So I mean, they kind of keep me feeling like I'm connected with everything. And so I don't really, I personally, over the pandemic, I kind of discovered that I'm more of an introvert than I thought I was. So I
Mm-hmm.
actually don't mind it at all. It's kind of nice to be able to set my own schedule as long as I, get the my daily quota that I've set for myself done and get the deadlines set or met. So, you
Yeah.
know, I don't
Working
really mind
independent.
it that much.
Yeah, working independently is it's not too bad sometimes. Working from home, working away from other people, and it's not too
Yeah.
shabby. And I also saw that you're going to be doing some interior art coming up for Saturday Morning Adventures. You're going to be doing the actual line art itself.
Yes. I've got issue number 6, and the Halloween special story, like the first story, I guess you would call it story A,
Hmm.
under my belt. And then I'm currently working on issue number 7. So actually earlier today I was drawing some of that issue before I got ready for this meeting.
Oh, cool. That's nice. Doing colors and then moving on to line art. Very nice. Is that like a step up, or is that something you'd like to do, or do you prefer doing colors?
I there's great things about both of those jobs. I think to some degree there's like a relinquishment of control when you are a line artist and you're not also your own colorist, So I've seen it
Mm-hmm.
from both sides at this point. And I'm really excited that Luis Delgado is coloring my line art. So I know I'm in good hands for sure. Somebody who's really experienced and does a great job with all kinds of Turtles comics as a colorist. So I'm not worried at all about it. But there are times when I think to myself, every artist has their own kind of visual shorthand or language, like what one person draws as a finger might just have like no lines separating out the knuckle, for example. I know
Hmm.
that's a weird specific thing, but when you're a colorist, you kind of really quickly get to know a specific artist's visual language, and something that an artist with a more cartoony simplified style might draw as a hand making a fist
Mm.
might not be that difficult to pick out from like behind a shoulder if it's like coming like that,
Hmm. Hmm.
as opposed to another artist who has a really detailed style that may even have little like hatch marks in the inside, and you have to be aware of that when you're filling in all of the
Mm.
the part of the hand, for example, as a colorist. So um but I mean, I love, I'm used to on my own time, coloring my own line art. So I appreciate both sides of it. I sometimes there's a little bit more of a relaxation to, I think, being a colorist. There's a little bit of pressure that I'm feeling now as a line artist, but
Mm.
yeah.
That's nice. It's just different roles, and they all support the story and support the art in different ways. And that's cool that you can do
Yeah.
both and multi-talented, like I said, and
Well,
very nice.
thanks.
And Luis Delgado has worked on The Last Ronin also.
Yes. Yeah. Actually at New York Comic Con, after Eric Burnham and I finished the signing for Saturday Morning Adventures, the Last Ronin gang were on next at the IDW booth for their signing. I just got right off the signing stage and then right back into line because I was like, I got to get that book signed by them. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
People are waiting in line to see you, and then you're waiting in line to see other comic book artists. Yeah, that's one of the weird things. I was thinking the other day. It's kind of lonely to be an artist. You're working remotely all the time, and then all of a sudden you're at a comic book convention. There's a line of people there to see you. You go from being like absolutely isolated to a line of people waiting to talk to you.
it's, yeah, honestly, it's a little bit surreal, and I'm still shocked by the, I mean, not, I shouldn't say shocked. I'm very, very flattered, and I really appreciate the positive reception. But for example, like to give you an idea of how much I feel that my time at conventions has changed, like in 2019, I had my Donatello fan comic at my Dragon Con table, and I was trying to sort of advertise it to people walking by if they'd be wearing a turtle shirt or something.
Hmm.
I could not give that thing away. I think I sold two copies, and that was one of which was to one of my friends. And now I keep selling out of it. I've had to get it reprinted, so
That's
um
good. Hard work paying off.
it's
And
been
you used
it's been really unreal, honestly.
and you used to just go to comic book conventions as a fan, so you know what it's like being on the other side. And that's cool that you have both experiences. And you get off the signing stage and get in line to get a comic book signed.
Yeah, I honestly, I started going to conventions in 1999, and as like a fan and cosplayer, and then I did Artist Alley starting in about like 2002, 2003 when I was a teen. So I've been doing Artist Alley for a while, but I'm used to, I'm not I'm still not really used to people already knowing who I am or what I've worked on before they come to the table. So that's been kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's got to be a lot of fun though. And that's led I guess Saturday Morning Adventures, did that lead to Usagi Yojimbo or Street Fighter? How did those come about?
Yeah, so I would say yeah, it definitely led directly to those things. Usagi Yojimbo was kind of a side, like a special, I think it's considered special projects with IDW
Hmm.
in partnership with Dogu Publishing. Scott from IDW set me up with that, and that was a real privilege to work on those covers. And yeah, Street Fighter came right on the heels of Saturday Morning Adventures #4. When I wrapped with that, that's when they said to me, "Hey, we're gonna have you color this series," and I'm about to start coloring the fifth and final issue of that. So
Very fun. You got your foot in the Turtles world, in the Turtles universe, and you've been working on different comics, and that's really exciting. That's a nice little career path, a little career trajectory. And once you get your foot in the door, they know your name, and you can get other jobs, and you develop a relationship working with people, and they get to know you and all that. Is that how you break into the comic book industry for any young comic book artists out there?
I, I guess I've heard it said that everybody finds a different path into the industry. Um, Sometimes it's being at the right place at the right time. Other times it's, years and years of kind of persistently, pursuing
Mm-hmm.
a publisher and showing it. Other people have said that they got a job or a gig just simply from posting, fan art of, like, say, Spider-Man online, and now they're
Wow.
working officially for Marvel. So other times it's, and of course comic artists from, um I hate saying back in the day because now that makes me feel really old, but you hear stories about comic artists who back in the day would, like, mail off their originals, with a
Mm.
typed letter.
Mm-hmm.
So all different ways in, I guess.
Different strokes for different folks. Do you have any would you like to write for the Turtles at some point? I know you've written before. Would you enjoy writing for the Ninja Turtles?
I would love to. I don't want to I don't want to nag them about it because I'm so fortunate to have the jobs that I have now, but down the line, if there's any availability, I would love to take a shot at it.
Oh, great. Well, yeah, you hear that, everyone at IDW? Sarah would like to write some Ninja Turtles comics, so they can arrange that. We'll arrange that. And that's cool that you grew up liking the Turtles and watching the show, and now you're part of the Turtles lore, the official lore yourself. You made it. You're an official artist on the actual comic book. That's got to be really really cool. Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, and Sarah Myer.
Uh, well, again, it's been surreal.
That's nice. Um, well, I wanted to talk about Monstrous a little bit as well. In addition to
Sure.
the Turtles comics, you released the 300-page graphic novel. It's kind of your life story, your childhood. Monstrous, a transracial adoption story. I'd like to recommend it to everyone. I read it; it was really great. It's got a
Thank
great
you.
flow. The art style is great. It's cartoony in some places and it's mature in other places. Really, like well-rounded book. So, want to recommend that to everybody. And you said that came about before your Turtles gig. You were working on that 3 4 years ago.
Yeah, so that came about because of my master's thesis. I did a master's degree in sequential art, and when I, requirement to graduate, I had to write an academic thesis with a visual component. And so Monstrous actually began as um my visual component to that thesis, where I wrote about how autobiographical comics can support a self identity as kind of, I guess, decided upon by the artist, because they have to draw essentially self portraits over and over again throughout the course of the story. I use Jean Luen Yang's American Born Chinese as an example of that, how his character's identity as a Chinese American changed throughout the book.
Yeah, it's really neat. I like how the you in the book, young Sarah, your character design drifts and you age throughout the book, and your hair changes and stuff. It's really interesting how you did that. And it was really well done book, and I know it's like a young adult book, but it's like I think anybody could associate with the book. I know what it's like not to fit in, and you cover a lot of difficult topics in the book as well. You talk about race in the book. You were born in Korea and then adopted by an American family. And it's taboo to talk about, but it's it's real, and
Mhm.
those kind of differences are real and stuff. And you had a tough time as a kid, and you talk about that very fairly and very honestly in the book. And it's a sensitive book. It's like it was really well done, and it's got to be tough to be so honest in the book. Was it tough to just put it all out there like that?
Well, thank you. First of all, I really appreciate you saying that. Yeah, it was nerve-wracking, honestly. There were throughout the and you know all thanks to my editors Robin and Michael with First Second. They were so supportive during the planning stages and throughout the book. But it was very. I almost had like I felt almost creatively like paralyzed at first when I set out trying to figure out, okay, what's the scope of this book? When does it, at what point do we start in with the story, and how many years should it span? So, and there were several things that, I even had to exclude. Um, nothing too dark or anything. It was actually things that were kind of stranger than fiction. Like, for example, I was attacked by a cow on my family farm when I was a kid. I was like, yeah, that's probably, we already have a lot of pages. Got to omit that. But things with, just talking about tone and how certain events were depicted was definitely, something that they helped guide me through. And but yeah, I was absolutely, to be honest, like terrified in the weeks leading up to it being released. because there's always, preview, like, advanced reader copy reviews, and they were starting to trickle in, and they were really generally very positive, but I was absolutely terrified of what would happen when it hit shelves. I and I'm totally prepared for, that there are going to be, your story isn't going to be liked by everybody, you in the third person, like, not everybody is for everybody,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I was worried that people would only take the book as a very negative thing. So I've been very glad to see that many of the reviews mention that it is intended to have a positive message overall, about finding yourself and not letting people say who you are.
Yeah, you did a really you were very fair in the book. You were honest. You talk about being bullied, but you also talked about bullying other people. One of my
Hmm.
favorite panels in the book was when you lifted the other girl's skirt up to humiliate her and like retaliate. I was rooting
Yeah.
for you at that point. I was,
Uh,
get her.
I was a pretty bad kid at points. Yeah, I could be a little bit rambunctious. I actually bit somebody in elementary school during a soccer game.
Oh,
Things that you
see.
omit. Yeah.
Yeah, I was rooting for the monster at one point. I thought the
Oh
monster was
no.
going to take over. I'm damaged, obviously. I was rooting for the monster. That was one of my favorite panels when you fought back. I thought that was great. Um, and the Little Mermaid movie panel. There's a lot of pop culture references in the book. Ninja Turtles references throughout the book, and the Little Mermaid as well. I love the panel where you're watching the Little Mermaid, and it's like you're floating almost. It's like you're flying through the air. Really well done. It really captured that feeling of seeing a movie as a kid and really being like affected by it in a positive way.
Thank you.
Really great art. And did you see the new Little Mermaid movie?
I did. Yeah, I actually saw it with my mom, who took me to see the 1989 Little Mermaid. And we really enjoyed it. What did you think of it? Did you see it?
I haven't seen the new one yet. I've seen the original one many times, but I just haven't gotten around to seeing the new one yet. It's tough as a grown man going in to see Little Mermaid.
Right. Yeah, and I gotta say, I think I still prefer the original animated version. In particular because, and I was saying to my mom, like, man, having realistic looking CGI sea creatures play instruments or like dance around in a musical sequence is not as appealing when they look like real actual sea sponges or whatever the frilly frondy things are. Like, I'm like, that's one of those instances where you have to have an anthropomorphic fish cast to do
Yeah.
that justice.
If it's realistic, it's a little too strange looking.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's cool. That's good you enjoyed it and you have that relationship with Little Mermaid and with the turtles and all that. I really liked all the pop culture references throughout the book, of course. It's like all those cultural moments, all those like shared experiences. Those are neat to include throughout the book. Um, and I
Thanks.
was wondering, they changed the race of the Little Mermaid in the most recent movie. Is it time for a Korean Little Mermaid movie? Do we need another reboot?
Oh, well, I don't know. I think I personally, while I really enjoyed Holly Bailey's performance as Ariel, and I think that she was a great mermaid, um in general, because I'm such a huge just animation fan, I would prefer it if Disney maybe stopped doing so many remakes just in
Enough with the
general,
reboots
because
already.
I'm excited about Beauty and the Beast, the original animated Beauty and the Beast having a re-release in theaters. That's what I'm more excited about.
Yeah, it seems like there's just been tons of reboots and remakes recently, and they're all kind of void of the spark that made the originals exciting. And I don't know. Some of
You
them are
got to
good,
have
but
that hand-drawn feel.
I
Yeah.
love the hand drawn feel. Love the hand drawn animation. And talking about pop culture references in the book, Sonic the Hedgehog, Full House, Power Rangers, Nine Inch Nails, Chuck Jones, Pokemon. The list goes on. Jenko Jeans. I saw Pearl Jam in there. So you
Hmm.
really you went full on with the pop culture references, and I thought those were great little things people could associate with the book, and maybe they're fans of those things. Even Sailor Moon, Beavis and Butthead. List
Yeah,
goes on and
definitely.
on.
And that was another thing that I really appreciated my editors were open to. And I guess we have to thank the legal department at First Second Books for that as well. Um, but yeah, letting me put in all those pop culture references, because it was really important to kind of create, a sense of time and place.
Wow. And you said the book it was tough to be so honest. Do you feel like stronger now? Do you feel like empowered or anything? Do you feel the same?
Um, well, it's a little weird knowing that there's going to be total strangers out there who have, know like my life story as depicted in the book, obviously, not everything, but um I I have gotten some messages from other Korean adoptees who said that they felt really seen by the book, as well as people who, aren't adoptees or aren't Korean American, who said that they really felt, they really related to the outcast aspects of the book. And that's meant a lot to me. So that's made me feel really good about the book being out there.
I really enjoyed it as well. And speaking of remakes, Mutant Mayhem came out recently. Did you see Mutant Mayhem yet?
I did. I've seen it let's see, 3 times now. Yeah. I saw
Oh,
it my
very
third
nice.
time on Tuesday night.
And they did the race swap with April O'Neil in this movie as well. What if they made a movie about your book and they cast a black Sarah Meyer?
Well, I think because being Asian is such a big part of, specifically me as a character, that would be an issue. But
I would put my
um
foot down. Enough. I would say enough with the remakes. Let's do it the right way.
but yeah, I mean I enjoyed the new Mutant Mayhem. Did you see it yet?
Yeah, I've seen it twice as well. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well done and had a lot of heart. I liked the scene where they see the movie out in public. I really enjoyed that scene. I thought that was very well done.
Yeah, I was not expecting to see Ferris Bueller of all movies in the middle of a Turtles.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was weird to see all the live action just cut in, full screen live action scenes
Yeah.
from the movie, and I thought it was well done.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear about Monstrous. I just wanted to recommend that to everybody. It's not just for young adults. It's not for adoptees only. It's for everybody. Anybody that has ever felt isolated or if you've been excluded before. It's relatable for everybody. Even bullies will like this book. Even the bullying scene where you lift up the girl skirt, they'll even enjoy that. So
Maybe.
I wanted to ask what's next. Do you have any other plans for the Ninja Turtles? Do you have any other books coming up to announce or anything like that?
Well, I submitted a pitch to First Second. Fingers crossed, can't really say anything about that. And just for the time being, finishing up colors on Street Fighter and doing the interiors for a couple more issues of Saturday Morning Adventures. So
Oh,
yeah, I
that's
should
good
have a lot
stuff.
out in stores in the next few months. So
You've been staying busy and it shows. The comic book shelves are full and people are enjoying the work. So I hope you get more Ninja Turtles work. I've been enjoying all the stuff you're doing so far. I enjoy your style and all that, and it's been great to see you working on multiple comic books. So I'd like
thank you.
to tell everyone to get Monstrous, a transracial adoption story by Sarah Meyer, and I'd also like to recommend everyone get the TMNT vs Street Fighter books, Sarah's Usagi Yojimbo Turtles books, and of course Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures. Sarah's going to be doing the art, and I'm excited for it.
Thank you.
And I'd like to tell everyone to follow S. Meyer Comics, Twitter and Instagram, and go to sarahmeyer.net. I'm, I'm rattling off these plugs here. I feel like I'm some sort of radio announcer.
Well, I really appreciate it, honestly. Yeah, definitely looking for more followers on Instagram and Twitter, so for sure.
Yeah, you post great stuff, so I'd like to recommend that to everybody. And you have the microphone, you have the floor. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Do you want to talk any trash to any other artists?
Oh no.
Do you have any ongoing beefs with other artists or anything like that?
No, no. Just thanks so much for supporting Monstrous as well as the various TMNT projects, and I hope you guys continue to enjoy them.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Sarah. I really appreciate it. I'll stop the
Thanks.
recording and we could say goodbye. Thank you, Sarah Meyer.